Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Sun News and Ford Nation. I'm Mayor Rob Ford. You've heard the late night comedians, you've heard the critics, you've heard about the pundits, you've heard the criticism and the counselors. Now tonight, I want you to listen to me. Here's a look at how we ended up where we are today.
Election night 2010.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will stop the gravy train once and for all.
Political victory for a man few expected to win. But Rob Ford has always been the renegade. He was first elected to Toronto City Council in 2000, representing Toronto's West End suburb of Etobicoke. Ford built political support, showing up on voters' doorsteps and returning every call.
How are the problems over there? Oh, still the same?
On council, he was the lone wolf, the constant critic on new spending. And in 2009, a turning point for Toronto. A 39-day garbage strike. Unions demanded more from taxpayers. Tensions rose, so did the trash piles. This was the nail in the coffin for Mayor David Miller, who in 7 years let city spending balloon nearly 40%. But a death knell for Miller set the tone for the Rob Ford mayoral campaign.
I've been watching every single dime that's being spent, and enough is enough.
Ford drove a wave of public anger against Toronto's overspending ways. He capitalized on suburban dissent and became the alternative for voters upset with the so-called downtown elite running the city.
It will not be easy to end the gravy train, but I will do it.
Still, Ford was the long shot. His top rival, a well-connected former provincial cabinet minister, George Smitherman. Both faced campaign controversy. Rob Ford forced to explain a past DUI and pot charge in Florida. Smitherman confessing to a past drug addiction linked to the gay party scene. But on election day, the ballot box question was clear. Who can you trust with your money? Ford grasped a decisive win with 47% of the popular vote, and he began work right away. He made Toronto Transit an essential service, eliminated the car registration tax, contracted out trash collection in the city's west, and saved over $100 million in labor contracts. But in early 2013, public focus sharply turned from council business to what the mayor was doing outside the office. Reports of the mayor drunk at a public function, and then this infamous photo, and reports the mayor was caught on camera smoking crack cocaine.
Rob Ford is facing a bombshell.
The alleged video remains one of the hottest stories in Toronto.
This is lies after lies and lies, and I've called you pathological liars, and you are.
The pressure mounted, and after 7 days, this statement.
I do not use crack cocaine, nor am I an addict.
On his weekly radio show, Ford vowed to move on. But in his office, turmoil, with his chief of staff, Mark Toohey, fired and other top staffers resigning. Within weeks, a major police drug raid in Etobicoke. Among the targets, an apartment where the Rob Ford crack video was allegedly held. Police would not confirm a connection until this October press conference.
The digital video file that we have recovered depicts images which are consistent with those that had previously been reported in the press. The mayor does appear in that video.
A stunning comment, and with it, extortion charges against the mayor's friend and occasional driver, Sandro Lisi, all relating to the video. Demands for an explanation intensified.
Get off my property!
Public pressure on the mayor ramped up at home and at work. And after months of denials, a stunning admission.
Yes, I have smoked crack cocaine.
When,
But
sir?
no, do I? Am I an addict? No.
When have you
Have I
seen-
tried it? Probably in one of my drunken stupors.
Ford isn't facing any charges. He sees no reason to resign. But his council colleagues demand he take a leave of absence.
Have you purchased illegal drugs in the last 2 years?
Yes, I have.
And now, court-released police documents allege lurid activities in the mayor's office surrounding drugs and drinking and driving. Plus, allegations of sexual harassment of a staffer prompts a crude outburst and another apology.
It says that I wanted to eat her. I've never said that in my life to her. I would never do that. I'm happily married. I've got more than enough to eat at home.
I used unforgivable language. And again, I apologize.
Daily apologies, confessions, and the media crush. It's a circus at City Hall. Motions have now moved to strip the mayor's powers. Councillors turn their backs when he speaks. But Rob Ford, well, he continues this unprecedented fight for political survival. The question is, can he win? Sneha Kulkarni, Sun News Network.
Well, I want to welcome everyone to Sun News, and Councillor Ford, myself, I'm the mayor of Toronto, Rob Ford. I understand that people were embarrassed by some of the actions that I've taken in the past. All I can do is assure you that I am changing my behavior. I'm working with a team of professionals, and I'm working out every day. But that's in my personal life. I was elected to go down to City Hall to end the gravy train. It's still not over. I have a lot of work to do. Like you saw, we have saved $1 billion. And these aren't my numbers. These are the numbers coming from our city manager, Rob Rossini. Yes, I'm human. I've made mistakes. But I want to move on. I want to privatize garbage on the east side of Yonge Street. I want to get rid of that and land transfer tax. I want to move on saving taxpayers' money, create jobs, stimulate the economy. That's what I've been doing, and I want to continue doing it. Look at my record. Everybody has skeletons in their closet. Mine have been exposed. I can't speak for other councillors, but if council wants to strip all my powers, do whatever they want to do. I disagree with it, but you know what? They have their rights, and I think it's wrong. I think it's illegal. But the people are going to have their say on October 27th. I return every phone call that comes to my office, and I'm going to continue to do that and go to people's front door to serve them. So,
well, Rob, you're saying that they're going to strip your powers. As much as it's, as far as I'm...
They're going to take away all my staff.
No, I realize that, but you know something? I've always said they don't have the moral authority, they don't have the legal authority, but there's one thing they can't strip from you. They can't strip the power of the people. And we saw that the other day. Folks, I went into Walmart the other day, and it was just non-stop. It was just consistent. We support you, ignore the media, just keep moving forward. Our city is booming, and we support the mayor. Tell him, do not give up on us. Do not give up. And it took me 15 minutes just to get out of the parking lot. I got an idea.
I went out to a restaurant last night, took my family out. It took me 4 hours to leave the restaurant. It's humbling. I want to thank my supporters for sticking with me. I guarantee you're going to see a change in the next few months. And talk is cheap. Action speaks louder than words. I love the city. I love being mayor, and I love saving taxpayers' money, and I'm going to continue doing that. Do you want a slick-talking lawyer, the slick-talking consultants, lobbyists? They're the people. Or do you want tax-to-spend socialists? Or do you want a mayor that watches every single dime at City Hall, which I've been doing for the last 13 years?
Well, Rob, Sun Media went out and Sun News went out and went and asked some folks some questions, and why don't we go and by the way, folks, the producer that talks in my ear here, he hasn't told us these questions, so these are cold turkey. Let's see what the people of Toronto have to say.
Rob Ford, do you think that the mayor of North America's third largest city should be a role model to citizens, children, anybody else?
Well, absolutely, you should be a role model, but I'm only human. I am not perfect. I have yet to make, I've seen someone who has never made a mistake in their life, and I am a role model. I've helped out thousands and thousands and thousands of people when nobody else would help them out. I've been there. I've taken youth, 14, 15-year-olds that have been sleeping in parks, that have been kicked out of their house for whatever reason it may be, and taken them under my wing and brought them home and told them to sleep on the couch, and we'll talk about it in the morning. You know what? Am I perfect? I'm not perfect. But I'll tell you what I am perfect at: watching taxpayers' money, creating jobs, stimulating the economy, having no labor disruption at all. Building subways, things that people said cannot be done. You will not have labor peace in this city. I have labor peace. We've given the unions a great deal. They're happy, I'm happy. People are happy with private garbage collections. You will never see that again. Taxes are lower than ever before. You look at our tax increases, on the last in 4 years on average, it's 1 3/4%. I'll put this city up against any other city. This city is 100 times better than it was 3 years ago. That's for sure.
Why don't we take another question? Let it roll.
I just feel that, the mayor probably has his own troubles, but the press is, I think, a little bit too hard on him. A lot of it has to do with his private life, not his public life. But I think that's what's called for when, you're in the public eye. I wish him well. I think he probably needs to step down, though. Makes it easy for everybody.
Well, I'm not stepping down. I'm not an alcoholic. I'm not a drug addict. I was elected to represent the people of this city with 380 some odd thousand votes, the largest in Canada's history. People are telling me to stay the course, keep fighting for the little guy. I say this, there are more poor people than rich people in this city. I take the side of the poor people that have been neglected, the people in Toronto community housing that I visit day in and day out and fix the holes, and they live with cockroaches and live with mice, and their fridges aren't working, their stoves aren't working. Nobody, no matter how much money you have, should live in these conditions. I cleaned up Toronto community housing, all the big parties they used to have, all the lavish boat cruises used to have. I cleaned them out. I want to thank Eugene Jones and Bud Purvis for their leadership in that. I want to build subways on Shepherd, on Finch, on the downtown relief line. I don't believe in the LRTs and streetcars like we have on St. Clair. That's a complete disaster, what's going on there. It's putting people out of work. Now they're spending $500,000 on doing an environmental assessment for bike lanes on Bloor Street. That's a complete waste of money. Spending $5 million on buying a half an acre of green grass. This is ridiculous. We have enough parkland in the city. You don't go out and spend $5 million on half an acre of land. It's ridiculous.
Okay, Rob, let's take another question here.
I just want to say that I think the mayor's biggest crime is the fact that he's taken the attention away from the provincial Liberals, blowing $1.1 billion on the gas plants.
Okay, you know what? And that gentleman's right. You look what's happening at Queen's Park, folks. You will never, ever, ever find Rob Ford stealing 1 red cent of taxpayers' money. There's no money scandals here. I've never been charged with any money scandals. You look what's happening at Queen's Park. That is almost criminal. What they're doing, spending $1.1 billion, absolutely gone. You look what's happening up in Ottawa with the senators. Outright gone taxpayers' money. I can turn around and show you a list of $1 billion that I have saved the taxpayers in the last 3 years. And these aren't my numbers, folks. These are the numbers coming from the city manager and the chief financial officer. My job, I've never once went down to City Hall intoxicated or under the influence of drugs. And yes, I have made mistakes in the past, but only time will tell. Action speaks louder than words. And you're going to see action like you've never been seen before. If you want lobbyists and consultants and, you want the Tories, the Stints, the Minawongs, the Chows, all those slick talking people, you know what? On October 27th, you're going to have a choice. Do you want someone that watches every single dime, or do you want someone who you're not quite sure where they're coming from? But one thing they can talk pretty smooth, but you better watch your pocketbook, folks.
Okay, let's go for another question.
So personally, I count myself as a member of Ford Nation. How are you planning on putting all of this behind you and preparing for next year's elections?
You know what? There's no other choice. I have to put it behind me because I can't change the past. The past is the past. It is what it is. I've admitted to my mistakes. All I can know is I've got a platform ready to go. We're going to register on January 2nd. People are calling me nonstop wanting to donate. It's humbling. It's very, very, very humbling to have the support that I have here. I want to continue doing this job. I love this city, like I said before, and there's nothing more that drives me than saving taxpayers' money.
What are you going to do, Rob, and moving forward? The gentleman asked you, what are you going to do in the next election?
Well, I'm dealing with healthcare professionals. No.
What the question is, what's the game plan? We're building subways in the next election.
Absolutely no, but he's asking, I think personally, how are you going to basically change your image? Well, I'm going to be working out. If I'm not down 30, 40 pounds in the next 6 months, then I can eat my words. If I haven't touched a drop of alcohol, I'm dealing with a team of professionals. I'm getting the help for sometimes my excessive drinking. But guys, I think this is getting blown out of proportion. I'm here. I've never missed a day of council. You put my attendance record up against any councillors down there, and I guarantee I'll be in the top 10. And I'm the mayor. I'm down there more than some of the councillors are. So, you know what? Talk is cheap. Action speaks louder than words. I encourage everyone to vote on October 27, 2014.
Well, you know something, Rob? We're going to continue building subways. They said you couldn't build, first of all, they said you couldn't get elected. Then they said they couldn't stop the gravy train. Not only did we stop the gravy train, but we got the subway train now. It's tough enough trying to get council to decide on anything, but you had council on board, you got the province on board, you got the feds on board, and we're finally delivering transit to the people of Scarborough that we absolutely love. And I always say, God bless Scarborough. They've been ignored for 50 years. I'll tell you one thing, under the Ford administration, you haven't been ignored.
I agree. We have to take a quick break. We'll be back to Sun News.
Coming up on Ford Nation, he's been the target of late-night talk. Find out what Ford really thinks about all the barbs.
Don't you understand? Get off the property, partner!
Also, Ezra Levant sounds off on the media jihad against Toronto's mayor. But first, True Confessions. Ford sits down with sun-scrawler Joe Warmington and bares his soul like never before.
Why should the public, A, believe you and also forgive you?
Don't miss it.
Well, welcome back to Ford Nation. I want to introduce Joe Warmington and my best friend, Doug Ford, as you know. So, Joe.
I'm not your best friend, Mr. Mayor?
Well, we've had our differences. You've upset me, and but we've made up, and I accept your apology, and let's move on.
Well, you know what? I learned a lesson is, with you, there are areas where you do lose your cool, and we won't go into them here today, but if you go down a certain road, you tend to lose your cool.
Well, I think it's natural. Bringing my wife and my kids into the situation is absolutely off limits to anybody. I don't care who it is. So that, obviously, it hits a nerve, and so I think that's a fair comment.
But he did call and apologize, folks, and it's really good to have. Did you find this TV stuff easy, boys? Or?
Well, no, we're always in front of the TV. Usually I'm running away from the cameras, and they're chasing Rob and I.
I'm running into them.
Or running into them, one of the two, but this is great. We love Sun News, and it's going to be an exciting show here.
Thanks for having me on the first show, and hopefully we'll get to come back again. We'll see how this goes, but it's not an interview. We're just chatting here, and Mayor Ford, obviously that was not your best week.
No, not at all.
I think a lot of people are asking me when they approach me is, they want to know from a personal side, not the political side, is how are you really doing behind the scenes?
I'm doing fantastic because I know in my heart what I'm doing for the city is the right thing. My personal issues, yes. And again, I'm going to repeat this. Have I drank too much? Yes, I have. I admit that. But you know what? I'm getting, I'm not an alcoholic, but there's professionals that are guiding me and trying and helping me out. And I work out every day now. We've got a professional trainer with me, and we're having a lot of fun. And, is it stressful? Sure, it's stressful on my family, but I know in my heart, I know everybody has personal problems. Mine is supposed, but my job is to come down and serve the taxpayers of the city, and I'm continuing to do it. I'm returning at least 70, 80 calls a day, going to people's front door, and I haven't missed one day of council in 13 years.
So why should the public, A, believe you, and also forgive you? Because you're asking them to do both, and yet we've seen such flip-flops there. Now, obviously you're getting the help now. Is that why, or what?
Action speaks louder than words. Again, I'm going to repeat what I said. You look at my record. I want to talk about my record, my achievements, what no other mayor in this city has been able to do. I've saved more money than any mayor in Toronto's history. Got subways built when everybody, my competitors are flip-flopping, want LRTs and want streetcars. No, I don't believe in LRTs and streetcars. Their last council meeting, they spent $500,000 on an environmental assessment on building bike lanes on Bloor when the businesses don't want it.
You put your own political agenda at risk, though, with your behavior. And so you see that. I mean, that's not everyone else's fault.
It's all self-inflicted, Joe. Yeah. I can't change the past. I can only apologize so many times. You know what? I'm not perfect. I don't think anybody's perfect. And if they are, I haven't met them yet. So what else can I do? All I can do is apologize and move on, and just give me some time. And if you don't see a difference in, let's say, 4 or 5 months, if I'm not down a few pounds, and you will see a difference. And that's all I can say. Talk's cheap. Action speaks louder than words.
Well, actually, that's the first time that, and I think, Doug, you haven't heard that before, where the mayor is saying to give you a chance, give you some room to do that, and that's the first time you said that. So 4 or 5 months, you're going to do your own program to get there.
I'm not going to tell anyone what I'm doing. I'm not going to tell I'm not going to talk about the health professionals. But I can assure you, I'm dealing with professional people.
You haven't been drinking at all?
I haven't touched a drop of alcohol in 3 weeks.
Not,
A drop.
Not a drop.
I'll take a urine test right now, and if there's alcohol,
Drugs?
none, zero. I'll do a urine test right
When's
now.
the last time for drugs?
Long time. I'm talking like it was like a long time
What
ago.
about drug testing? And you could
And
dive in
that's
for,
what I
for
said.
the rest of the council.
I'd be the first one to do a drug test. I put it on. I put a motion on the table. I don't know why we're going down this to go personal, but I have no problem doing it. I'll do a drug test and alcohol test right now. And I put a motion forward that every councillor do it too. You know what? They jumped up. They don't want anything to do with it. And then on our last council meeting, everyone says, "Oh, we're going out drinking
You're
after."
going to put that back on the next meeting?
Yes, absolutely. I don't want to do this. I'm not a rat, Joe. You know what? I know people party on the side. I know lawyers, doctors. Everybody
Who else
has
on
a good
council,
time.
You know who's done it? Anybody on
I'm
council?
not going to name names.
No?
That's not.
Why
I'm
not?
going to
Why
name
not?
names.
Your name is out there. Why
because
not?
No, but
You
let
know
them
something, Joe?
vote on it and see who comes forward and who doesn't.
Joe, I think it should go right across the country. You know, they have to do drug testing across the country. And not when I say drug testing, I'm including alcohol. Because I know for a fact there's a lot of people that live outside of Toronto, that work in Queen's Park. They get lonely up there, same with Ottawa, and they go out drinking every night. And there's a lot of issues with drinking in both in Ottawa and in Queen's Park. There's a lot of drinking issues in the city of Toronto right now. I found it ironic the other day after the council. I hear a couple of councillors are going out for drinks. So the next day I said, which one of you drove home? They're a bunch of hypocrites down there. That's what they are.
You know, I think a lot of people want to know too is about the idea that you were spied on like that for 5 months, the cost of it, and who else has been spied on like that. If you had the police and the resources of that, do you have a comment on that?
Well, they think I was stupid. I knew these people were following me. Like I kept running these plates, calling the police, and they were coming back to me and saying, "Oh no, it's private." We knew we were being followed. You had helicopters following us. The helicopters were landing on our pool.
Helicopters.
Not helicopters, planes.
Planes, sorry.
Yeah.
I had these unmarked people, and they're describing themselves as this or that. They're following me into the store. Come on, let's call.
Well, even up to last night, Joe, we still have someone sitting outside our plant. I get up to the office. I just like relaxing, getting away from everyone. You know, doing some paperwork. We come out. And bang, there's the same car sits there every single night. He was there again last night.
Okay.
So, it's not going to
If
continue.
Chief Blair doesn't say what he said, what you were upset about, and the different things, would we be where we are now?
No, my question is, I urinated in a parking lot. What does that have to do? Or bring up the beer St. Patrick's Day party 2 years ago. What does that have to do
You
with
know what
anything?
have to do, Rob? It's politics. They don't want these other guys. They want you. That's what it's about. The resources are going to try to catch
How much
you
did it cost?
because they have their own political little game.
How much did it cost?
They can't answer that right now.
No, they can't answer. Well,
but
guarantee
you know
I'm going to find out one day how much
you know
it costs.
something?
What do you
They're-
figure it cost?
Millions. Absolutely. How for 5 months investigation with officers, with planes, all this stuff? Well, you think, Joe, it must have costed over $1 million.
I want to send a clear message to all our police out there. Rob and I love you. Absolutely
the
love.
frontline officers, I'll go to bat for them 100%, but we'll leave it at that.
You know,
we got to go to break. Sorry, guys. We have to
one
go to
last
break.
question. The most famous guy in the world is right here. I don't know if it's all good, but how do you feel about the pressure that's on you and what you brought on the city?
No, it's not a pressure. I'm feeling great because, again, I know what I'm doing is right for the taxpayers. I encourage everyone to come to the city. My door is open. I'll welcome everyone. I bring kids through. I bring adults through. I bring dignitaries through my office. Sit there. I'm just an average guy, Joe. I'm an average guy. This title, oh, you're a mayor, you're all this. I'm an average guy who fights for the little guy in life. That's the bottom line.
And the little guy that has personal issues, but again, yours were exposed to the whole world.
We'll get into some of the personal issues on some of the kids that I've helped out.
Are you going to get better, or are you going to put this right on track?
Action speaks louder than words, Joe. It's up to the voters to decide on October 27th.
And you'll be there for sure?
I'll guarantee I'll be there for sure. Guaranteed.
Welcome back to Ford Nation. Folks, get ready for the rubber to hit the road. We got Ezra Levant.
You know, it's cool for politicians to do drugs. Justin Trudeau brags about it and says he wants to legalize pot. André Boisclair, the former leader of the Parti Québécois, favored cocaine. George Smitherman, Ontario's former Liberal health minister who later ran for the mayor of Toronto against Rob Ford and who won the endorsement of the Toronto Star and other left-wing media, said he preferred, quote, party drugs. It's not just drugs, of course. Teddy Kennedy had multiple addictions, booze, sex, drugs. He even killed a girl once when he drove drunk into the Chappaquiddick River with a woman, not his wife, coming home from a party. Mary Jo Kopechny was her name, but he was a Kennedy, so he was never charged. Speaking of drunks who kill, René Lévesque, the former separatist premier of Quebec, killed a guy one night, also with his car, also with a woman in his car, not his wife. Wasn't wearing his glasses either. Lévesque was charged, and the judge fined him $25 and encouraged him to continue his political campaign. $25. And of course, you don't have to go back that far. Take the hero of the left, Saint Jack Layton, the late leader of the NDP. Why, he was found stark naked in a downtown whorehouse during a police vice squad raid. No charges. Police didn't even mention it. I mean, it was his private life, and he was an important man, and it might embarrass people. Which brings us to the case of Rob Ford. He hasn't killed anyone like Kennedy or Lévesque. He hasn't been charged with anything at all. In fact, he's shown poor judgment. A lawmaker should not be a lawbreaker, and smoking crack cocaine is illegal. He was also seen in the company of criminals, or at least accused criminals. In fact, no charges have been laid against Ford at all, unlike, say, the current mayor of London, Ontario, Joe Fontana. Fontana's facing fraud charges, not for anything in his private life, but for allegedly using government money to pay for his kid's wedding. The Canada Revenue Agency has already decertified the charity Fontana chaired that paid him huge consulting fees. The auditors claim he violated the Income Tax Act, but Fontana continues to govern London with neither the media mania that has descended on Ford or the political threats by Kathleen Wynne, the Liberal Premier.
I understand that people are affected by what's happening at this moment, but I want the people of Toronto to know that we will not be defined by this, and we'll work together to ensure that the people's interests are served.
Yeah, see, Wynne herself is not elected yet, but she says she might just fire Toronto's mayor because, well, you see, well, why exactly? Because Ford lied? Is that the criteria for removing politicians from office? If so, there wouldn't be one left. Because Ford has a substance abuse problem, perhaps? That would cull the political class pretty quickly if that was a disqualifier. And much of the media party, too. Because why? Because his friends have been implicated or even charged in crimes? Well, that would cover quite a few people, too, including Premier Wynne herself, seen here with Justin Trudeau, and that other guy, the former Deputy Minister of Education in Ontario, close colleagues with Wynne. Ben Levin is his name, who just happens to have been charged with child pornography, as in making and distributing images of child abuse. Well, then what is it? Well, it's obvious. It's Ford's politics. He's a conservative. He's a tax cutter, a spending cutter. He privatized Toronto's garbage service. He pushed back the nuttier bicycling anti-car ideas. He's running a huge surplus. He's marginalized what he calls the gravy train, all the lobbyists and consultants and lawyers who used to rule the roost off the back of taxpayers. But of course, Ford's worst sin of all is that he's just so low class, isn't he? He's fat. He lives in the suburbs, not a fancy downtown condo. He's an uncool businessman, not a hipster, not even a lawyer. Oh, did I mention he's fat? He drives a Cadillac, not a Prius. He doesn't particularly like going to gay pride parades. In other words, he's what the fancy people hate. He's NOKD, not our kind, dear. That's why left-wing lawyers Clayton Ruby and Brian Schiller sued him again and again in political nuisance suits, trying to kick him out of office on technicalities, trying to bog him down in lawsuits, including baseless defamation suits. They were trying to undo through the courts what they couldn't do in the election. When Ford cleaned the clock of their anointed candidate, liberal drug addict George Smitherman, they couldn't do it through the courts. So then the media party tried to hound him out of office, publicizing every flaw, real or imagined, like, I'm not making this up, grainy cell phone video of him going to a KFC for fried chicken. I mean, did I mention that Rob Ford is fat? The media attacks didn't work for some reason, so then the left-wing, politically correct police brass thought they'd help. Toronto's police chief decided one day to have a press conference and say that he had seen a video in which Ford had smoked what looked like a crack pipe, and all sorts of other surveillance of Ford, included by airplanes and other undercover agents. Oh, no charges against him. No, he wasn't even the official target in the investigation. But they released hundreds of pages of allegations and rumors against him. Probably spent millions of bucks stalking him, even hired a plane. Oh, all in the public interest, of course. Well, that hasn't dislodged the mayor either. So then city council, his rivals, his opponents, had a vote denouncing him, calling on him to step aside. Yeah, imagine that. Liberal legislators voting for a conservative legislator to step aside. Imagine if that's how democracy worked. Maybe Rob Ford should step aside. Maybe he should be banished from politics forever. Unlike the drug and sex and booze addicts at the left, maybe he should be. But let that be done in the next election by voters. Not an unelected liberal premier, not by radical left-wing activist lawyers, not by a politically meddling police chief, and not by baldly ambitious rivals on city council, not by a vindictive, vengeful newspaper, the Toronto Star, that endorsed the drug addict George Smitherman and became an auxiliary of Smitherman's campaign team, that has sent reporters onto Ford's home, even at night, that has stalked his wife and family and friends. The Star isn't even a newspaper anymore, it's paparazzi. They're even paying cash to any member of the public who secretly tapes Ford saying something embarrassing, even private, even in a home. That's why I support Rob Ford. He's run the city well, despite his private life, and Rob Ford's enemies aren't just bullies. They're undemocratic bullies who act like they, and not the people of the city, own the mayor's office, and that they'll decide Ford's fate. No. Ford is a deeply flawed man, but I'd take him drunk over his left-wing predecessor sober. This is Canada. We let voters decide who holds office, not the editors of the Toronto Star or their stockerazzi. Mayor Ford, I got a question for you. It's so obvious. If you were a liberal, if you were a tax hiker, if you were part of the gravy train, would you be going through any of this right now?
I don't believe I would be. They say, you've got to work with the council. I've worked with the council. We built subways when they said that's impossible to do. We've made huge improvements down in the city. You want to make friends at City Hall, all you have to do is spend money and you'll have all the friends you want.
You've been doing this all show. You've been talking about substance. You've been talking about taxes and blah, blah, blah.
Absolutely.
They're not interested in that. The reason CNN and the BBC and all these folks are interested in you is because of your personal life. But I want to ask you, why you? I mean, unlike René Lévesque, you didn't kill anybody. Unlike Teddy Kennedy, you didn't kill anybody. Is there any liberal in this country who has gone through what you've gone through?
I think the biggest thing is I admitted I've done drugs. I've made mistakes. But I don't think, that anyone else is, any different. It's hypocrisy at its best. And I'm not proud of what I've done. It's very humiliating. But, being fiscally responsible down at City Hall, and let's call a spade here, the majority of councillors down there are left-wing tax and spend socialists. That's what they are. And there's a handful of us that are fiscally responsible. And if I was one of them, as you know, there's some councillors down there that have been criminally charged. Nothing wrong with that. I haven't been charged.
Well, there is something wrong with that. And frankly, there is something wrong with, you've admitted that you smoke crack cocaine. That is against the law. But what's the right approach for someone who's done the things you've done? I have never in my life seen a media pylon. They're obsessed at the Toronto Star. They send someone to your home at twilight to take pictures into your property. They're on your property. I've never seen anything like that.
The Toronto Star, my neighbor came and called me and said, there's somebody in your backyard over your fence taking pictures. So I ran all the way back. I live on a ravine. I ran all the way back. And guess who I caught taking pictures in the backyard? Daniel Dale from the Toronto Star.
You know what? It's so funny. I read the Star, I admit it. They talk about cyberbullying. They're against bullying. They're for civil liberties. They're for privacy. But the way they're hounding you, it reminds me of the paparazzi stalking Princess Diana. I don't think they're done with you. I don't think they're going to be done with you till you have a car accident in the tunnel, Princess Diana style.
Well, you know what? I've got a driver now, Jerry, and he's doing a great job. But you know what? This has gone way out of control.
Well, what about a bodyguard? The other day I saw some British reporter fly in, go to your door, ring your doorbell 5 times. How come people can get such access? I think that's part of the problem. You let anyone into your life. Anyone can phone you on your cell phone number. You publicize on the radio. You let anyone come on your property. So it's not just creeps who are in touch with you. It's creeps in the media. Are you too open and accessible to any hood on the street, including hoods from the Toronto Star?
Ezra, I'm open to anybody. People stop me all the time.
Well, is that a problem for the mayor of a large city to be open to anybody?
I don't think it is, because you know what? I don't think someone's going to come up to at my front door and shoot me for saving taxpayers' money. Well, I'm not. No, I got a camera system at my house and all that, but I don't need a security guard for me.
You don't think you need a security guard?
Why?
Well, because they're on your property. You don't think it's going to come to blows one day?
You know what's frustrating is when my little son and daughter are crying their eyes out before they go to school. They're afraid to go outside
but
to
that's
school.
a different kind of cyberbullying. You see, that's okay when the Star does it to your kids.
No, everybody's out on the driveway and they're crying. They said, "Daddy, I don't want to, Mommy, I don't want to go to school. I'm afraid to go outside." Who are these people? Like that is sickening when they come right to your front door and they don't move. And I tell them to get off the driveway and they don't get off the driveway. Guys, like at least catch me at City Hall or something, but don't come to my front door.
This is the weird thing. I mean, people love to hate politicians. It's sort of a national hobby in a democracy. But I think we hate politicians when they're bullies. It's very rare that a powerful man, the mayor of a city, is bullied. I think that's what's going on. I think that's the source of sympathy for you, is that you haven't stolen from anyone. You haven't bullied the little guy. But all these media powers have bullied you. I think they've managed to make you come across as the David in this David Goliath story.
I stick up for the little guy. I coached football for 22 years at Don Bosco and I got fired because of political reasons.
They hated the fact that you volunteer on a football club. They would never do anything volunteer for the community if it wasn't a press conference.
Well, these kids now, some of them kids, it comes from a tough neighborhood. There's no secret Don Bosco's a really tough school. And, these kids get in trouble. I'm the first one at 1, 2, 3 in the morning. These kids call me. They got my number, say, "Coach, I screwed up." I pick them up. I drive. I say, "Sleep on my couch. We'll talk about it in the morning." I help these kids out. I don't want to see them rotting in jail selling stuff like that. These kids need attention. Sometimes they don't have the guidance. I'm very fortunate to have that guidance in growing up. And Doug can explain some other things maybe.
You keep fighting those bastards.
I will, Ezra. Don't worry.
Anyways, folks, you're listening to Ford Nation. We'll be back.
This next clip will astonish and amaze you. This is Toronto Mayor Rob Ford addressing allegations that he sexually harassed one of his staffers.
Oh, and the last thing was Olivia Gonda. It says that I wanted to eat her. Olivia Gonda. I've never said that in my life to her. I would never do that. I'm happily married. I've got more than enough to eat at home.
Somewhere in a basement, through his tears, Anthony Weiner is going, "What?"
Well, welcome back to Sun News and Ford Nation. That was an inappropriate comment that I made, but obviously that was just off the cuff and very frustrated at the time. And again, it was inappropriate. But I am happily married. I have a lovely wife, Renata. I got 2 beautiful kids, Stephanie and Douglas, and I love them dearly. And I know my brother Doug has 4 beautiful girls. And again, it was a pretty stressful week, and there's no excuse for it. I don't use excuses and cop-outs. So again, I made a mistake. So we're going to move on talking about our record.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you about that comment. I was totally shocked. You've never made any comments off the cuff, have you?
Never, not me. No. I'm always
Anyways,
prepped and
going back to our record, Rob, people are going to have a choice, a very clear choice in the upcoming election. I love how the politicians and the social elites. Did you hear that the social elites, our friend John Capobianco and the establishment,
all the
are going to
consultants and lobbyists
all the consultants and lobbyists are determining who the frontline blue-collar folks, who their mayor is going to be.
You want their slick-speaking Bay Street lawyer?
Oh, yeah.
You know what? I want John Tory in the race. I want Denzel Minowong in the race. I want Karen Stintz in the race. I want Olivia Chow in the race. I want everyone in the race, and let the voters decide on October 27th. Who do you trust with your money?
Well, they're going to have 2 choices on October 27th. They're going to either be voting in for a tax and spend lefty, Olivia Chow, or one of the social elites, Denzel Minnan-Wong or John Tory or Karen Stintz, that they don't even know what reality is going into a TCHC.
David Signacki, the
David
former,
who?
David Signacki, the former budget chief for David Miller.
I've never even heard of this guy. I've never met him. Don't have a clue.
Guy, yeah.
Oh, former budget chief to David Miller?
Yeah, he wants to
that put us
recommend.
billions of dollars in debt?
Yeah, exactly.
All I want is maybe Shelley Carroll and David Signacki to come on and explain how they put us in debt all these years and raised taxes, made the backroom deals, and everything else.
Okay, we got to get on. You know what? We have to wrap this up. I want to thank everyone for watching this show. I want to thank Sun News. God bless you, and come to Toronto, folks. You'll have a great time, and call me anytime, 397-3673. That's 416-397-3673, or you can email me at mayor_Ford@toronto.ca. Thank you so much, and have a good night.
And God bless Ford Nation.